Monday Night Football. It's the Eagles and the Packers. We are here to break it all down for you here on the best betting show ever. I am Bryan Power, subbing in once again for Lawrence Presman, and I am joined by my good friend and yours, Joe Raineri. Much to his chagrin, it is no Prez, no Art, no one to save you, Joe. Just you and me, just two buddies talking ball on a Monday. How was your weekend, sir?
Yeah, it was great. Well, Saturday sucked, but goodness gracious, thank goodness, Sunday came around because that was a very good day yesterday, and I am more than happy now that college basketball is back in full effect here. So we got our first big week in, and it's always good to have 937 games on any given day there, BP, is it not? I mean, it's fun.
Yeah. Fun. A bit of a smaller slate that we tackled on Full Court Press, myself, Rob Vino, and Adam Trigger earlier today. You guys can check that show out on the Wage Truck YouTube channel. We will have a college basketball rundown coming up later on. We will have an NBA rundown coming on, but let's talk about Eagles-Packers. I think that's the game that everyone wants to hear about. Joe, money's been coming in on the Eagles here steadily all week. The Packers are obviously off. What was a pretty, do I use the term unforgivable loss to Carolina? They outplayed Carolina, but they came up on the wrong end of the scoreboard. Green Bay's interesting, Joe. From a yards per play standpoint, this has been one of the best teams in football this season. But they have now two, not one, but two head-scratching losses. The one last week to Carolina, the one to Cleveland earlier in the year. Eagles are off their bye. They were active at the trade deadline. How do you see this one?
I got to tell you there, BP, I think this is a lot of people had this game circled for NFC supremacy here, but I find both offenses very difficult to trust, especially given the fact that now we've got, no Tucker Kraft, who was really the only guy that could actually get open for the Green Bay Packers here. We still don't know if Golden's going. I think he's questionable. D'Antoni Wicks, I think, is also questionable. There are a lot of question marks outside of Dobbs and Christian Watson here, as far as the wide receivers go. And that game, that was the single most embarrassing loss, I think, of the Matt LaFleur era there last week. But they have been inconsistent like that for a while now, which makes me question, BP. I mean, here's what they have scored the last three games in the first half. 6, 7, 6. They start slow. They can't get into any rhythm. And now this is the best defense that they will by far have faced. They can't get into the red. How do you not punt that entire game and yet can't put the ball in the end zone? Red zone offense is a concern. It's not for Philadelphia. To me, this all depends. If you think this game is going to get a lot of points, I think there are some guys that you can look at in the prop market that will have to have big games in order for that to happen. But if you think the game's going to land on the under, I think there's a lot of different ways you can approach this one here, because you can't feed everyone on both sides of the ball here, BP. That is for sure.
No. Interesting. You talk about the Eagles defense. Let's talk about the Packers defense. And I would completely concur. Obviously, when you statistically and there was the same thing against the Browns. The Packers statistically dominated that game as well. I watched that entire broadcast, and they blew a 10-point lead in the final 4 minutes. But the Packers defense has been one of the best in the league. It's number 4 yards allowed, number 2 in yards per play allowed. I always like yards per play. Angle, I mentioned the Packers have one of the best yards per play differentials in the league. Interesting note, Joe, the Eagles, before the bye, they had that big win over the Giants. The Eagles were outgained each of their first 7 games. I don't know if you put much stock into that, but this is a team that I don't know if they're as good as their 6-2 record would indicate. There are some injuries to note on the offensive side of the ball. You mentioned Kraft being out now for the season for Green Bay. That is significant because he had a team-high 6 touchdowns. But Green Bay, is Saquon Barkley 100%? I think that's something worth monitoring. I would actually look, you talk about the prop market, I would look to bet Saquon Barkley under his rushing yards total. This has been a far cry from last season for Saquon Barkley. He's only averaging, 65 yards per game rushing? And this number was at 76?
Yep.
I think I'll double check that in a second. I would look Barkley under his rushing yards total. And then on the Green Bay side, the question is, who's going to replace that lost production for Kraft? That's what I would look at in the player prop market on the Packers side.
Couple of trends here. It just depends on how you want to look at this. Obviously, Sirianni coming out of a bye has been pretty darn good here with the Philadelphia. Ask any Eagles fan, they'll tell you how great they are coming out of the bye. And this is a new look defense. Don't forget, Jalen Phillips now in, Carter is in, Nolan is in. You know, that week, if nothing else for the Eagles, gave them an opportunity to get healthier. Coordinate, make some changes in his secondary. They got Michael Carter now as the nickel back. So there's a lot of different moving parts. And the one thing that we know is that we've seen this Jordan Love versus this defense last year in the wild card and didn't look very good. And they were way more consistent offensively when they played them in the wild card than what they have been now. Listen, to me, I think this is going to be kind of a dogfight, but I am a big believer, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think Green Bay starting slow is an advantage for the Eagles coming out of the gate with new defensive pieces. I like the Eagles in the first half. I think that the Eagles, who are number one in red zone offense here, have no problem getting into the red zone and converting those into touchdowns, while Green Bay has had a bit of an issue. I think it's going to be who controls time of possession. And Packers, they always seem to make it work in the second half, but can't get off to a quick start. I don't see how that changes in this game here tonight, so I'd be willing to look at Philadelphia in the first half in this one, BP.
Okay, just a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up here. A couple more factoids, if you will. Green Bay, obviously, as we noted, off a very bad loss. They were 13-point favorites against Carolina at home last week, Joe. Teams coming off an outright loss as a favorite of 7 points or more. They're now 82, 57-3 against the spread. That's after Detroit covered yesterday. So the Packers were in that spot. Knows Cam Jurgens. One interesting thing, obviously, remember Green Bay's the team, Joe, that's behind wanting to ban the tush push.
Yes.
Starting center Cam Jurgens is out for the Eagles. Does that affect them in short yardage? That's worth noting. I already mentioned that I kind of like Barkley to go under his rushing yards total. Mm-hmm. And then Jair Alexander, he's not playing. He's one of the recent acquisitions on the defensive side of the ball for Philadelphia. He's not playing either in this game. And then one last point I'll make, the Philadelphia Eagles, fewest turnovers through 8 games in league history. They have turned the ball over only 3 times in 8 games. Interestingly, though, who's the number 2 team who has the second fewest giveaways in the league? Joe, that would be Green Bay. They've only given it away 5 times. So these are 2 offenses that take care of the football. Who knows? Turnovers, high variance plays often determines the outcomes of these NFL games, and I think that could be happens here. But Saquon Barkley under rushing yards is my favorite.
I like it. Yep, I like it.
Okay.
Expect another slow start by Green Bay because that's what they're really good at.
Okay. All right. What we're really good at. How about what did we learn, Joe? Obviously, I know you were glued to the television all weekend. I was driving across the Midwest, my good friend Adam Trigger, taking in a series of college basketball games from the most marquee matchups, Joe, to, well, not the most marquee matchups. We were in the building for Arkansas, Michigan State. Ooh. That was great on Saturday night. Great atmosphere at the Breslin Center.
Nice.
Yesterday we caught Bowling Green, Lemoyne. Your old friends. There were some there were some females in the visiting section that were asking for your phone number, Joe. I gave it to them. Just so
you did. Well,
yes,
actually,
Lemoyne.
Trigger sent me a picture of the chicks you guys were hanging with. Okay. And this looks, are these all Lemoyne girl? Yes, they are.
That is Lemoyne. That is live at Lemoyne. There we go.
Live in Lemoyne.
They were asking for you. That's right. That's Raineri. Joe. Raineri.
Yes. Good looking crew. Yes. Very nice. That's your speed. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's your phone that's going to be going off, buddy. So that's but anyway, that's not what people came to know about. We talked about that on the college basketball show. Let's talk about football. What did we learn, Joe? What did you learn? Let's start in college. What did you learn on Saturday?
Well, there is a clear, I think, divide in college football right now. I don't think it's just a matter of, to me, it's just a matter of how many. How many SEC teams get into the college football playoff and how many Big Ten teams. And that's it. And then as far as I'm concerned, no ACC team should be allowed into the college football playoff because they all suck, including Duke, who we told you last week on the show was likely not going to cover 9.5 points against UConn. And sure enough, not only did they not cover it, they did not win there. So now Virginia lost. Wake Forest beat Virginia. So the ACC is a hot mess. But I got to tell you, call me crazy. Is Texas Tech, that's a legit defense. If they can figure out the whole red zone offense thing and maybe convert a few more scores, that defense at Texas Tech is no joke, but they're likely going to have to play BYU again in the Big 12 championship. But I guess money does buy you maybe a conference title there if you are Texas Tech. That's a really good defense and a very good team that nobody seems to be talking about.
Yeah, let's stick with that. You know what I learned, I guess, was a big takeaway? When the odds makers are telling you in a big game that one team's going to probably kick the other team's ass, that's probably going to happen because that number, I couldn't believe, Joe, as I sat and watched the odds screen and the money just kept rolling in, the sharp money kept rolling in on Texas Tech. They went off 13.5 against an undefeated team and a top 10 team, and they covered every number. Texas Tech obviously did. So the odds makers were telling you what they knew. And it's not the first time we've seen that this year, Joe. In that conference, as a matter of fact, what was it? It was 2 weeks ago, Utah and Cincinnati. It was a similar deal. The Big 12, I feel, has had a lot of those games this year. Remember when Arizona State lost 11 when they went to Utah and they got killed. So that guys, don't be afraid. I mean, I know it's like, God, this number's so big. Odds makers are telling you what they think. And then your point is well taken about the Big Ten SEC supremacy. There's going to be at least 8 of the 12 teams in the field are from those two conferences. Because, I mean, we know the G5 gets a spot. We know the ACC is guaranteed a spot. We know the Big 12 is guaranteed a spot. Notre Dame's probably going to get a spot.
Yes. Of course not.
That's 4 teams. That's 4 teams. I think the other 8 are all Big Ten and SEC. And it could be 5 from the SEC, depending how Texas does this week against Georgia. And honestly, Texas could beat Texas A&M, I think, too, in the regular season finale. So they have
Texas could also be a 3-loss team that makes it still, given the resume and who they're playing. So even if they lose that A&M game, they could still very well get in with 3 losses, because I'd much rather have a 3-loss Texas team than a 2-loss, Louisville or somebody else along those lines that is absolutely trash there. So no, I think this is what you see is what you get. It's just a matter of how many, not if, at this point, the SEC and the Big Ten get in.
Yeah, the big crime with the ACC, Joe, the team down in your neck of the woods, Miami of Florida, is by far the most talented team in that league. But they have just Cristobal has 2 losses as a double-digit favorite. And they may not even get a chance to play in that championship game. So a real shame there for the U.
Disgusting.
All right. And what did we learn in the NFL?
What we learned is there was a big difference between the 1 o'clock games and the 4 o'clock games yesterday. The 1 o'clock games seemed to have, you get an upset. The 4 o'clock games were like, holy good Christ, every team wants to have exactly the same score, 44-22 for some unknown and strange reason. And how bad is Washington? My goodness. Dan Quinn, you got guys throwing punches to dudes who are wearing helmets. Like, that's how ridiculous Washington is right now. So, I think that the rich keep getting richer, and somebody better tell the Buffalo Bills that, I know you've dominated Miami, but you've got to win the game. And, you can't just show up and roll the ball and be like, all right, we're good to go. We're going to win the game, because you looked absolutely horrific. Might I say worst loss on the board yesterday? I don't even think that's being a stretch here. And we're talking about 20-point blowouts every place else, but that Bills game might have been the worst loss of them all.
I'll save for our bad beat section something that might have rivaled the Bills. But, the Bills are kind of like the Packers, who we talked about, obviously, at the open night. Those two teams, they're, dare I use the phrase, playing with their food. I think that's what the Bills were maybe guilty of there. I mean, that was a head scratcher. I mean, look, awful. 9.5 is a big number to lay on the road in this league, always is. But to lose outright to Mike McDaniel, Miami is pretty unforgivable. So, Washington, their defense looks like it's quit. Not even Scott Hansen.
And I'll tell you this, Joe.
Enthusiasm for that 4 p.m. slate. He was struggling. He was showing highlights of the 1 o'clock games early in the third quarter.
Awful. Yeah, and I don't like the fact that Dan Campbell decided to call plays yesterday, and now everyone thinks that everything is good to go in Detroit because you dropped 40 points on Washington, who, by the way, you and I could drop 40 points on. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. This is not the same Detroit offense. I'd be very careful with them moving forward, thinking everything is good to go. There is no reason Dan Campbell should be calling plays if everything is going so swimmingly in Detroit. There are some issues on that offensive line. And yeah, congratulations. But there's coming a point, I think we're going to need to sell high on this Detroit offense moving forward.
I'm glad you made that point because it's going to take me to my next point, Joe. What I learned yesterday is the top two teams in the NFC, and maybe, quite frankly, the top two teams in the NFL, they're playing next week. Seahawks and the Rams. Those two, man, I was just dead wrong about Sam Darnold to Seattle. I've said it a few times now. That team is just a machine. I mean, they're not being priced as the best team in the league. There's a lot of metrics will tell you that they're the best team in the league, and the Rams aren't far off. So I'm really excited about that game to get into it and break it down for next Sunday. The Seahawks and the Rams. All right, let's get to our parlay of the day. Is this just did you get a third leg from someone? Did you call Art? Did you call Prez, or is it just you and I doing this? Is this going to be a two-leg parlay?
This is a two-leg parlay because we actually want to cash it. And every time we involve the Prez in it, it should be the round robin play of the day, so at least you can break even. So no, we are going to go here tonight with a two-teamer for the parlay of the day, BP. So what is yours?
Let's go to college hoops. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about this game in the rundown, but I like Mississippi State team total under 73.5. Mississippi State at Iowa State. Look, here's the deal, guys. This game's being played at a neutral, by the way. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Mississippi State, they're a good team under Chris Jans, but what's always been the bugaboo, if you will? Three-point shooting, lack of it. Iowa State's an excellent defensive team. I don't see Mississippi State in an unfamiliar gym putting up a big total, so I like them. I like the Bulldogs under their team total.
Oh, that's nice. All right, give me the Lakers to bounce back on the road here and get it done against the defenseless Charlotte Hornets, who, well, let's face it here, they've been a little shorthanded, but they don't play any defense anyway. I would expect Luka and company to get back on track here in a nice blowout fashion on the road against Charlotte.
Okay, there you go. Lakers and Mississippi State team total
Boom!
Under. Parlay, just two, just Joe and I. Just, I'm sure if I'm right, Joe will congratulate me, and if I'm wrong, he'll just say, "That's okay, BP. You tried your best."
Correct.
That's correct. It's going to go. Okay.
Yes.
Bad beats. So I wanted to save it. Since I teased it.
Got to go for
business. Let's go to it's time for some business.
Yes,
let's not bury the lead, Joe. I apologize. By December, I'll have this down right.
No, you're good. Okay. Because it's only written right in front of you. But okay, go ahead. You got it. Good stuff.
I didn't know how to speak English till I met you, Joe. I'm still learning how to read. All right. Let's talk about some business, guys. I have a 5% play in the NFL tonight. Monday Night Football, Eagles, and the Packers. Joe, I'm not lying when I say 5% plays are rare for me. This is only my second 5% play of the entire NFL season. The first one was all the way back in week 2. I took the Atlanta Falcons as a 3.5-point underdog that night. They were at Minnesota. We did not need those 3.5 points. They destroyed the Minnesota Vikings 22-6. So this is our first 5% play in the NFL since that time. My only other 5% play in all of 2025 in the NFL was the Super Bowl when I had the Philadelphia Eagles playing tonight in the first half of that game against Kansas City. So we're 75% over the last 365 days with 5% plays in the NFL. Go get it tonight. We won both of our 4% plays, Joe, over the weekend in football. Pardon me, got choked up there thinking about it. But Nebraska in college football on Saturday night was our best bet for Saturday. Our best bet for Sunday was a teaser, actually, the Jets and Texans. So feeling good. We've had good success on Monday Night Football, 4-1 since the start of October on M&F. So WT.buzz/BP is where you get my 5% max bet.
Well, that wasn't long and drawn out at all. Thanks, BP. 5% play, ready to roll here. We got a pretty good one here tonight as well, BP. And it's been rolling pretty well. Number one in the NBA, number one in college basketball. this season here. And I've got not one, not two, three college basketball all-access packet, all three of them now over at my page at Wager Talk. Do have a NBA and NFL Monday Night Football play locked, loaded, ready to roll. And I love the style here, BP. It looks outstanding. But yeah, you can get those over at wagertalk.com. There you go, BP. You look good there in that picture.
Look.
Very nice.
Look, I'm back. There we go.
Before and after. I love it.
I looked like one of those like guys in the 80s wrestling that got their ass kicked, who's with the jobber.
Yes.
That's what I like with that haircut. I think right there. Guy loses in 30 seconds right there, Kid Vicious power bombing me.
That's
there
it.
We go.
Bryan,
there we go.
Superfly power. Love it. Very nice.
All right. Okay, so that's the business. Now, Joe Raineri, I believe we go to the bad beats section of the program. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your patience, Joe. I've always appreciated it. I teased it earlier, so let's talk about it now. I mentioned that I did have my top play yesterday was a teaser with the Texans and Jets. I will say a bad beat, I think, is if you had the Jets. I did not have to sweat out. I did not have to sweat out that last drive. I was happy because Houston was down 29-10. When they got it to 29-24, I said, oh, my God, I think we're going to steal this. Little did we know just how they would steal it. Obviously, Davis Mills runs it in for the go-ahead score. And then, if you had Jacksonville, you could have got plus 1.5 at one point. But then guess what? Last play of the game, what happens? Houston gets the old defensive touchdown. Of course, that happens when I have the Texans in a teaser and I don't need it, Joe. But that was a bad beat for anyone, I think. You can go ahead with your option. I was happy to see it, but a bad beat for anyone who bet the Jaguars.
Yeah, no, I mean, that Jacksonville game was just absolutely hilarious. How the Jets managed to win a game against Cleveland, I will have no idea. I also have absolutely no idea what in the hell happened to San Diego State. You would think guys from San Diego wouldn't be enamored by flying to Hawaii and playing a Hawaii football team when you have the Mountain West title on the line, but I was dead wrong. That was a horrific bet on my part. I just thought we'd get a little bit more out of San Diego State than we did. And boy, we did not in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, Signetti, your reign of blowing teams out that you are better than, yeah, apparently that took a nosedive there. So we saw that come in too as well. BP, that steam, that was under 2 touchdowns by the time they kicked. We saw a lot of money come in on Penn State, who gave them a run for their money here. But
yes,
Indiana, by the hair on their chin. But it wasn't a good bet there either for me this weekend.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I won't do a Gus Johnson impression. I'll spare you with that. That was one of the most incredible calls. But I will say my bad beat of the weekend, Joe, I know you were watching this one Saturday morning. Borussia Dortmund giving up a goal 7 minutes in stoppage time.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah,
that
was my bad beat.
I
know you were watching.
Bryan Power bet that? Is that what that was?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Just curious.
No,
all right.
no.
That's good.
No.
Borussia
7
Dortmund.
minutes in Dortmund, if you really want to, get into it.
No. Yeah, didn't see that.
No, you didn't see that? You didn't have your ESPN Plus app on the Bundesliga? Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about college basketball. Joe, you're obviously having a great start to the season. You guys can catch me every day on Full Court Press with Adam Trigger and Rob Vino. Of course, you can check at Bryan Power _wins on Twitter for a recap of Trig and I's weekend in Toledo, East Lansing, and Bowling Green as we had to beat all those Lemoyne girls off with a stick. Anyway, I already talked about, stop it, Joe. Already talked about Mississippi State team total under. I think this is a team that traditionally struggles to shoot the three. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble from downtown against an Iowa State defense that always brings it at the defensive end. I also like the under. I cashed a couple in-person unders, Joe, in MAC buildings over the weekend. Let's stick with that theme. I like the under tonight in UNC Wilmington, Kent State. I am the only human being alive, although the market seems to agree with me, which is crazy because both Kent State games so far this year have seen more than 200 points scored. I like under 150, even at 159.5. I still like that against UNC Wilmington. I think it's going to be a much different game, a much slower pace than what we saw, particularly different from when Kent State faced Cornell last time out. And then I'll give you one more. I think Santa Clara is live tonight against Xavier. We talked about Richard Pitino and some of his comments that he made about his new team at Xavier. Did not like the defensive effort last time out by Xavier against Lemoyne, as a matter of fact. So I think Santa Clara, I think this number's kind of moving in the wrong direction, Joe. I would look at Santa Clara plus the points against Xavier in a FS1 tip, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's 3 plays I gave you here in this rundown. Mississippi State team total under Kent State, and Santa Clara plus the point.
Impressive stuff there, BP. Now we'll head to the NBA rundown because interesting night on tap. It's going to start with, of course, that Lakers game that I told you about there, taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Like the Lakers to bounce back. Hornets are a hot mess right now here. I think the Lakers will get it done. The Magic are hosting the Trailblazers. Boy, I'm so glad the Magic went out and spent money on Desmond Bane and traded for him so they can improve the shooting. They suck. They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. Meanwhile, Portland couldn't get it done against Miami a couple of nights ago, but they do have the rest advantage. Magic just lost last night of that second game against the Boston Celtics. I like the Trailblazers to get it done there. Nobody in their right mind is ever betting the Wizards, so I'll take the Pistons laying 11.5. And if you like scoring, you might as well watch the Heat and the Cavaliers. That total up to 247.5, 248. And if we're all being honest, that's probably not enough points there. That probably lands 250, 260, more likely so than anything near 240. The Bulls and the Spurs, welcome back the Aaron Fox to the Spurs rotation. Had a pretty good effort there his first time out. This should be a good one at the United Center. I like the home dog here. The Bulls getting 3.5. They've been a little feisty. The Bucks on the second of a back-to-back shouldn't matter. They're taking on the Mavericks. I'll lay that small number there. The Timberwolves have been bulldozing everybody. Now they get a chance to bulldoze the Jazz, but hold up here. Second of a back-to-back for the Timberwolves. Yeah, I'll take the over just in case. How about the Suns? Actually rejuvenated here, doing actually a pretty good job. The Pelicans, no Zion, no Pelicans for me. I do like the Suns in this one. I think they get it done. And the Hawks and the Clippers. This is a sneaky over here. I think the Clippers let it rain from 3. They're laying 5.5, but I think the over 220.5 might be some value there, expecting points, BP.
I am very impressed, Joe, I don't know why. What else should I expect? That you were able to get through it in your NBA slate in 2 minutes. I mean, you are truly a broadcast professional.
Yes.
I am not a broadcast professional, and for the second time, I've almost forgotten the word of the day.
Yes.
Hate to have that dereliction of duty. You know, I was kind of thinking about mullet, but I don't want you to throw that picture back up. So we're going to go with Dolphins is our picture today. Why? Not the Miami Dolphins, although they are, certainly will give them their kudos. Yes.
Lemoyne.
They're the Dolphins. So Dolphins
Yes.
and that is not a live shot at Lemoyne, but once upon a time it was a live shot at Lemoyne. So there you go. Dolphins is your word of the day. Please comment down below with some Dolphins-related smack. There you go. And speaking of comments, Joe, I believe we're going to hit the mailbag now.
We had a couple of actually pretty fun ones here, BP. In fact, we had a couple of people wrote in, Bryan Power and Joe should have an epic college sports show together. Yeah, that would be Abraham Lincoln, I think is that. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. We don't want to give him any sort of ideas there at Wager Talk. Also, what was it? Allen, 9632, one of the greatest videos of all time, by the way, if you haven't seen that. Allen, he says, Joe is happy Prez is not here. Was it that noticeable here is what I'm saying. I thought for sure it was... It wasn't that noticeable, but apparently it was there, BP. We have another one. I think Matt writes in, Prez, you suck. Wasn't even on the show Friday, and he's still being told he blows, and I think that is great. You got to love that. Also, Bryan Power is my hero, is what we are also seeing there. That person obviously day drinking. There is no way in their right mind they would actually post that watching you on anything. We also have, look at this. Art about to get fired, big question mark. No, Art on Friday has a job, unfortunately. Yes, and every now and then at that job, BP, they ask him, to work and attend meetings, and unfortunately, he couldn't attend this show. But that didn't change the fact, BP, I believe that you and I handed out the information about them. Let's see, what they needed Houston, or you talked about Houston getting all of that steam there. Talked about, I think, Memphis in that spot there on the weekend on Friday. So we gave you all the solid information you needed. Hopefully, you were able to take that and do something with it. And of course, BP, we did get the all-important video that somebody sent in here. A big shout out
to Bryan Power.
Yes.
Just want you to know that I've been crushing it.
Yes.
Fading just about every one of your picks on this show every day. So, just wanted to say thanks and keep it up.
All right. Outstanding.
Who is this douche?
Outstanding.
Who is this guy?
Jimmy P.
Jimmy P.
Jimmy P.
Jimmy P. Well, let me tell you something, Jimmy P.
Go ahead.
On Friday, I take it very seriously, my contribution to Parlay to the day of the show. Because again, Joe, I know if I get it wrong, you'll be the first to let me know about it. Atlanta Falcons, by hook or by crook. That was correct.
I believe both. I had Colts money line. You had Atlanta Falcons plus the 6.5. And was it? What was our NFL?
Art had Minnesota.
Art. Okay, so it was Art. Leave it to Art. Just the shit.
Art
all
is a very
over
good man, and Art will be back tomorrow, everybody, as will the Prez, Joe.
No, he won't. Is he?
Yes.
Oh,
you didn't see the message? Yes.
I try not
it
to
will
look
be
at
the
anything.
normal lineup on the best betting show ever, I believe, both Tuesday and Wednesday, with Prez, Art, and of course, Joe in the house. Always great to sit in and hang out with you, Joe, for 20 minutes. I really mean that.
Oh, you know what I forgot to give you there, BP? I forgot to mention this. Yes,
gift?
right there, my friend. Yeah, right there.
There
Okay, right
I'm
there,
number
BP.
one. I'm number
Pleasure,
one.
baby.
Joe's favorite,
Pleasure.
number one.
Kiss
All
Mike.
right, Joe.
Yeah.